9,000! Oh yeah! Not Ringo.
Hey guys, Dalek44 here. I need no introduction, but I got one anyway. Do you know what I love? Comedy films. Do you know what else I love? Nick Frost and Simon Pegg. But do you know what I really love? Simon Pegg and Nick Frost being in that wonderful comedy film, Hot Fuzz. Hot Fuzz is a 2007 satirical action comedy film directed by Edgar Wright, written by Wright and Simon Pegg, and starring Pegg and Nick Frost. It was the second film in the Three Flavors Cornetto trilogy.
What the fuck is he on about? What the fuck are you on about?
And for those of you who are wondering why they call it the Three Flavors Cornetto trilogy, it's because there's a Cornetto ice cream in each film.
Oh, yes, of course.
After the successful DVD sales for Shaun of the Dead, they decided to make a sequel, but this time focusing on police officers. It's already been proven in Shaun of the Dead that Edgar Wright, Simon Pegg and Nick Frost had their work cut out for them. But could they really make a cop film after Shaun of the Dead? Well, let's take a look. Police Constable Nicholas Angel, played by Simon Pegg, is a high-achieving police officer in the Metropolitan Police Service of London. He gets promoted to sergeant, but it comes with being transferred to the village of Sandford in Gloucestershire. And why did they transfer him to the country?
The fact is, you've been making us all look bad.
That is a hilariously unprofessional reason for transferring someone to the country. When Angel arrives in Sandford, he finds that it's generally devoid of any crime, with its local neighbourhood watch alliance helping to keep the peace as everyone prepares for the Village of the Year award contest. Angel finds a minimum amount of crime there during his time, such as chasing a swan, chasing after someone stealing from a local shop, but his biggest crime so far was finding a shed that's full of unlicensed firearms, including a sea mine. He does a majority of his jobs with his new partner, PC Danny Butterman, played by Nick Frost, the son of Chief Inspector Frank Butterman, played by Jim Broadbent. Now, of course, being a high-quality police officer, Angel isn't too happy that the village is so tranquil compared to London. But before long, the town suddenly is struck by a series of violent deaths. Nicholas begins to suspect that these are part of a conspiracy, although Danny seems to be more concerned with discussing his love of action and buddy cop films. Furthermore, the rest of the police force refuse to believe the deaths are deliberate and pass them off as accidents. Angel's prime suspect for the crimes is local supermarket owner Simon Skinner, played by Timothy Dalton. But as Angel digs deeper and deeper into the murders, he finds that the crime is much bigger than he expected, which leads to car chases, gunfights, and a climax that's so big that it takes up most of the film. So what's my opinion of Hot Fuzz? It's the best film in the Three Flavors Cornetto trilogy. Out of all the films in the Three Flavors Cornetto trilogy, Hot Fuzz is my ultimate favourite. One of the reasons is because I'm not a huge fan of zombie films or anything that's very gory. But with Shaun of the Dead I did make an exception because it is hilarious and has a lot of funny moments in it. But I just love Hot Fuzz a bit more because it's focusing on cops and crimes. I guess my love of cops and crimes comes from the episode of The Simpsons titled Who Shot Mr. Burns? Yeah, that's probably it. But the film also has this great mystery that builds up to the great payoff at the end. Now, just a little warning here, guys. There's a major spoiler ahead for like the two of you who haven't seen this movie. By the end of the film, we learn that the murders were committed by the members of the Neighbourhood Watch Alliance of Sandford, led by Frank Butterman. Yeah, big shot there. Frank Butterman, played by Jim Broadbent, is the villain of this film.
You're not seriously going to believe this, man, are you? Are you? He isn't even from round here!
This was the second time I ever saw Jim Broadbent play a villain. The first time was in the CGI movie Robots. But this was also the first time I've seen Jim Broadbent play a murderous character. Of course he starts off in the film as being an innocent, likeable character that we know him to play as. But by the end of the film we learn his true intentions and how psychotic he is. This was really a huge surprise for me when I first watched this film because I never expected Jim Broadbent's character to be the main villain. From watching the trailers, I always assumed that Timothy Dalton's character, Simon Skinner, would be the villain, since the trailers made it out that Timothy Dalton's character was the villain. But it just turned out that there was more than one villain, and Jim Broadbent played the major villain. That was a pretty amazing surprise for me the first time I ever watched this movie. In any other film, they could have made Jim Broadbent just a straight-up bad guy, but because of the backstory, you kind of feel sorry for him. He was doing all this just because he lost his wife when they lost the title for Village of the Year. That's quite a tragic backstory for the villain. But it's not enough to make you sympathise with him that much because of everything he's done. In fact, Danny put it best.
If she could see what you've become, I think she'd probably kill herself all over again.
And this film has so many celebrities, so I could just go on pointing out every single one of them. But there isn't enough time, so I'll just go through a few of them. Sergeant Nicholas Angel, played by Simon Pegg, is a workaholic who was transferred to the country from London for being too exceptional. Nick's not a bad person and doesn't really miss things outside of his job deliberately. He just wants to be really good at what he does. The only problem is that he's a workaholic. Even Danny helps him to realise that he needs to shut off every once in a while. And PC Danny Butterman, played by Nick Frost, is the exact opposite of Nick Frost's character in Shaun of the Dead. Whereas in Shaun of the Dead, Nick's character had no ambitions whatsoever. Danny had a lot of ambitions to be a good police officer, and he wants to see a lot of gory action like you see in cop films. And the list of other characters is so huge that it would take me forever to go through them all. There's Timothy Dalton as Simon Skinner, Paul Freeman from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie as Reverend Shooter. Yeah, that's right, Ivan Ooze from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers plays a Reverend.
Oh, fuck off, grasshopper.
I fucking love that line coming out of a vicar. Martin Freeman as the Metropolitan Sergeant, Steve Coogan as the Metropolitan Inspector, Bill Nighy as the Chief Inspector of the Metropolitan, David Bradley as the farmer who owned a shitload of unlicensed guns as well as a sea mine, Peter Jackson as the guy dressed as Santa Claus in the beginning. What? That's right, that Peter Jackson. The guy who directed the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit trilogy.
Oh, that's good. That's very good indeed.
A majority of the movie was shot in Wales in Somerset, which is very well known for me because I used to visit that place a lot when I was little. And when I found out that they filmed that movie in Wales, I was really surprised. I could literally just say to everyone, I've been to the village where they filmed Hot Fuzz. This movie has a lot to offer for everybody who's a fan of cop films and comedies. Various cameos from celebrities, amazing effects that were used to create explosions, gore and gunfire scenes. Now, I'm not usually a huge fan of gory things in movies and TV series, but for Hot Fuzz I can tolerate it because it's got so many funny things in it that I can't stop watching it. And it has one of the best climaxes ever. The most gore I'm used to seeing is stuff that comes from Family Guy and American Dad and South Park. But for Hot Fuzz I could tolerate it because it's just so bloody hilarious. Especially in this scene when Nicholas Angel has to pretend he's Michael talking to Timothy Dalton.
Michael, is everything okay?
Yarp.
Sergeant Angel's been taken care of.
Yarp.
He's not gonna get back up again.
Narp.
Good.
The movie also has a lot of references to the other films in the Cornetto trilogy, like a jukebox that appears in every single film, various actors who appeared in all the films, and my ultimate favourite, the fence joke. The fence joke just gets me every time in these films, but my favourite fence joke obviously comes from Hot Fuzz, because I just find it really hilarious to see that Simon Pegg's character did it really well, and Nick Frost's character just ran right through the first fence. That still cracks me the fuck up. So in my opinion, Hot Fuzz is the best film in the Three Flavors Cornetto trilogy, and it continues to be my favourite in the trilogy to this day. But if you have a different favourite film in the Three Flavors Cornetto trilogy, then I'd like to hear what they are. But for me, Hot Fuzz would be my ultimate favourite Three Flavors Cornetto film. If you haven't seen Hot Fuzz yet, then I'd definitely check it out. It's all for the greater good. I'm Dalek44, and I'll see you next time, folks.